Hey everybody, welcome out. And it's actually the morning. Barely. It's barely morning. It's probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. But it's still morning in Mississippi. And we're pushing a good upper 80 already, folks. And I saw a good friend of mine, Alan Means, who posted he could not believe the temperature it was this morning at his place in Texas. Alan, I understand. I hear you loud and clear. We're going to do something different for you. And that's probably, y'all get tired of me probably saying that. I think I start every video out with, let's do something different. Well, I twist recipes. I do things a little odd. I do things a little bit differently. And since I'm saying differently, let me check and make sure that the old man turned his microphone on. And he did. But what we're going to do, we're not going to talk about cooking. We're not going to talk about the recipe. We're not going to talk about anything like that. We're going to talk about the method, okay? How I get to what I'm going to get. So what we did for the purpose of this, we're going to do what I call a checkerboard cake, all right? And we'll elaborate on that as we go on. So what I did is I went and bought the cheapest cake mix I could find in a box. Typically, box cake mixes end up with about 3 cups of batter. So I split that to approximately 1.5 cups in each one of these pans, okay? And I did that because the checkerboard needs to be contrasting colors, just like a checkerboard when you were a kid. Red squares, black squares, or white squares, black squares. Whatever it was contrasting colors. So we're going to leave one of these come out to the cake mix color, natural. The other one, I'm going to make green. Green because we have a bunch of this green food coloring. And I'm getting this stuff all over everywhere, folks. So I'm going to step over here and hand this, or not hand, but I'm going to set this on a table because I'm turning green. All right, now since we did that, I put a lot of green food coloring in here because I really want these colors to be contrasting for you. Okay, so that when we get to the end result, you can really see what I'm talking about. Because I've done this for birthday parties, I've done this for Christmas, I've done this a lot of different ways. And the colors vary depending on the occasion. Christmas may be green and red. Some parties may be baby blue and baby pink if it's a baby reveal party. I don't know, whatever you want to think of on that are your favorite colors. I even did a orange and black, one of these one time with gray icing for Halloween, which is I think our next festive time of the year. We have Labor Day, but it's usually not decorated up and festive. All right, folks, there we have a really green cake batter and a natural cake batter for the purpose of what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to take our Chuck Wagon's favorite friend, as you call it, Pam. And we're going to spray these really well. And we're going to cook these right here on my smoker. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute before we actually dump the batter off in here. Because again, this is all about the method, not necessarily the recipe. Here's a camp Dutch oven. It's camp because it has the lip on the top, okay? But we're going to bake in here, but we're not going to bake directly in the Dutch oven as I like to do it. Okay, we're going to put a pan, which this not really a liner because of the size difference. But we're going to put this pan off in here and we're going to bake our cake inside here. I've got a bigger Dutch oven that I just didn't feel like dragging out today, where 2 of these will fit in there. This is a 6-inch cake pan. And this is a good size for most small groups and stuff like that. Now, again, this is Jeff's way, as always in my videos. This is how I do it, not as the textbook's going to tell you to do it, more than likely. What I don't like, whether I'm using this Dutch oven in the smoker or I'm using it with coals on the top in the natural Chuck Wagon situation, I don't like this liner when I'm baking a cake or something to sit directly on the bottom. Okay, to me, the heat on the outside of this Dutch oven is going to create heat on the inside to where it's going to act like the oven in your house. Okay, well, the oven in your house has racks because they want the heat to flow around inside there. So get a horseshoe, get some metal rods, get something, or you can buy this thing here from Lodge or other places. It's a little thing like this, which has got these little legs on it, which is going to sit down here, and it's going to allow air to come up underneath our pan. So when we put our pan in here with our batter, yes, I'm probably going to turn this because I'm Jeff, and that's the way I do it. But it's going to allow airflow to come underneath there. And inside this environment, inside this Dutch oven, is just like the environment inside your oven in your kitchen. All right, folks. So we explained a little bit about my rationality on cooking in the Dutch oven. I'm going to kind of get really off, and I may lose some of y'all, and y'all going to may think, hey, this old man's out there. He done drank something this morning. But this smoker, you need to think of it sometimes, depending on what you're cooking, as an oven. Okay? It's the range in your house. This part, directly above the fire in the firebox, these are the burners on your stove where you can go high, medium, low, and you can do all of that. That's what this is, because you got the flame coming up, just like the flame on your stove, okay? You've got this area, which typically, in a lot of different avenues, is 350 to 400 degrees. So you can put something in here that would simulate the oven in your house, 350 to 400, 325, depending on the fire you have in there. You can kind of regulate that so that this area becomes the oven. And this area, obviously, is the smoker. You probably don't have this in your house, but this would be things that needed to be 300 and less. You'd cook over here. So why don't we take that 6-inch pie pan I just showed you? Why don't we open this up and why don't we stick it right in here? Smoke. Okay, we have smoke out there. So when you put a cake or a pie or anything that's not covered in here, it's going to discolor it because of the smoke, and it will pick up some of that smoke flavor. Now, I have baked a bundt cake in a Dutch oven and put it on here for 10 or 15 minutes because maybe it's a chocolate bundt cake and I want some of that smoke flavor in that cake. Okay, but generally you don't want to bake in here without it being covered up to keep the smoke out of that. In our Dutch oven, we're going to be able to create that, and we're not going to have the smoke in our environment where we're going to cook. So we got our batter in here. This is the, I'm going to call it natural cake batter for a roundabout way. Now, I will tell a little bit of something on myself here while we're doing it. I bought a white cake mix, cheapest white cake mix I could find at the dollar store. White cake mix only has egg whites in it, okay? I put whole eggs in this, so this is sort of going to be a yellow cake mix now. But I did that because I just didn't want to waste it. Y'all know how I am with wasting stuff. So we got the natural in here, and we're going to put the green in here. Typically, I'd rinse this off or get me another one because I didn't want to get it layered in. But we're not talking about the cake. We're talking about how we're going to come out and do this. Okay? So we're going to get our green off in here that kind of way. And folks, I probably have this on my face by now, but I got green food coloring all over everything. All right, so here we got our Dutch oven. We got our little spacer or whatever you want to call that thing at the bottom. We're going to set our cake in here. This is a 12-inch deep. If you do this in 12-inch shallow, your lid's going to be right down on top of your cake, and that's not good. You need some room up on top of that. And by spacing it up from the bottom, we eat up a lot of that room just with that spacer. So we're going to take our lid, and there we go. Now, we just created the Kenmore oven, folks. We got these little cakes baked off. We did them in the Dutch oven. Now, you know, I didn't cover a few things that I'm assuming everybody knows, but stick a stick or a knife or something down in your cake and make sure it comes out dry. It's just a way to test it. Now, to me, when you add food coloring or you add something to a cake mix, such as food coloring, the cake kind of changes a little bit. Sometimes it'll be a little more dense. Sometimes it takes a little longer to cook. I don't know why. That's just my opinion. Now, obviously, these have been out here cooling for a little bit, folks. But you see how this cake is pulled away from the pan? That's one way that it's talking to you. Food's going to talk to you in sign language, folks. So when you're in your Dutch oven and you put cake in your Dutch oven and you're cooking straight on like that, you'll see the edges start doing this a little bit. Now they increase with, as I say, it's cool, things are kind of contracted a little bit, but you'll start seeing this. So if you're cooking your Dutch oven in a conventional way, when you see this start happening on one side, not on the other, rotate your oven, folks. You're getting a little done. And the other trick that I'm going to tell you, some people might disagree as usual, but if you're cooking in a Dutch oven and you got the lid on like that right there and you smell your food, you're either ready or we're ready 10 minutes ago. You shouldn't smell that food like you would be cooking it in a skillet on your house or in your oven. It's sealed up. Yes, some smells will come out. But if I'm 15 feet away from this Dutch oven and I smell biscuits, these are going to be black on the bottom, folks. It's just a way that I learned the hard way. I've been taught that way and everything else. Now, obviously, if you open the lid, you smell the food. But in general, you shouldn't smell a whole lot until you open that lid on that Dutch oven. Just a little tip. Now, we're going to see for the great reveal. These have cooled off a little. And we're going to get them out. We're going to get them on this little fancy rack. So we can't stack them like this. You wouldn't be able to do a layer cake. So I use a bread knife such as this right here. This, if you're level in your Dutch oven, you're level in your smoker, however you're baking these, you're level in your house even. This little edge around here has a tendency to be level. Now, I'm not a baker, folks, so bear with me on some of this. We want to take our bread knife. We want to keep it level on both sides, not cutting into the sides, but just cutting out the middle. Do the same thing over here to our green cake. It's going to taste the same, but I'd have people tell me, oh, that green cake tastes a lot different than that white cake. Folks, it won't do it. Trust me. I'm going to set this cup towel here to get rid of these because I didn't bring a plate. All right, now we have something we can stack up. A real baker may tell you, no, I'll cut that off. You know, you can get some stuff like that. All right, we're 6-inch cake pans. We have a 3-inch biscuit cutter, cookie cutter, whatever you want to call it. We want to make a checkerboard cake. So we got to be uniform that the thickness is relative to how we put this together. So this is 6. We put 3 in the middle. Going to leave us about 1 on each side, a little bit more than 1, which is about the thickness we are. So we're going to come right in the middle. We're going to push this down. Now, because this is a cheap, inexpensive biscuit cutter, I can kind of squeeze that a lot of the times, and it won't do it because I'm talking to you. But I can kind of squeeze that a lot of times, and I can get that out of there. See that? Now we're going to come over here to our green cake. Get pretty close to the middle. Here we go. We'll give that a, get this loosened up, give that a little squeeze. We're going to come out. You know, television things don't work exactly like you want them to. We're going to do this a little different. I'm going to pick the ring up over the cake. That may have been a little bit of my problem right there. But we want to take the green piece, put it in the white piece. We want to take the white piece, put it in the green. All right, now, folks, again, I'm not doing this for the quality of the cake, the flavor of the cake. I'm just going over principles, right? So I got some baker friends that are out there that will tell me, oh, this ain't even, you know, and all that like that. Folks, if I was doing this for flavor, you'd eat it. That looks, you do eat with your looks, or you know, first. But to me, one of the most important things about food And I'm getting a lot of this cake trimming off in here because I'm not a professional cake guy. Okay. And I'm going to do this. This is just for the purpose of what we're doing here. Okay. I'm going to get this all put up here. Back what I was saying earlier, I think one of the important things that people overlook in food is texture. You can have some really, really good flavors, but if the texture is not right, people won't like it. And so it's important to have good texture in your food. And just learn the language your food is speaking to you. All right, folks, we got that done right there. I'm not going to worry about the outside. All right, so we want to take the other part of this, get it up here on top, get it lined up as best we can. Get that up here, give it a little push. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and put us a little icing up on top. Again, we're not doing this for this part of the cake. We're doing this on how we come up with that method of making the checkerboard. And I got some store-bought icing. I didn't make icing. I don't like store-bought icing. It's too sweet to me. To me, if I use something like that, I got to cut it with sour cream or cream cheese. I got to do something to this to take some of that sugar. I can't stand a cake that just knocks you over with sugar. We're going to see if we can make this work. We got our icing, and since I got cake in there, it looks like it has sprinkles. Now we're going to go in here and cut a piece. Let's see if we can get this out. All right, folks, you see how this is? Now, I didn't use a lot of time and finesse to make this exactly perfect. I'm showing you how to do it. It takes you some while to figure out how to make it so the ends line up and that kind of stuff. But you can see how we got the checkerboard. They're kind of uniform. Right? You can do this with a 12-inch cake, 6-inch cake, whatever you want. Do 3 layers, however you want it to come out. That's how complicated ever you want to get it. We baked the checkerboard cake in the smoker, but yet in a Dutch oven. Now, I cheated. I put it in the Dutch oven because I didn't want to put coals all around on a patio or a pan or whatever like that. Same principle. I can do this and put coals around my Dutch oven. No matter how I heat the air up in my Dutch oven, that's the important part. All right? Listen to your food. It speaks to you. It's going to learn. You got to learn the language of what you're cooking, and it'll go with you. Checkerboard cake. You can do it. I can do it. Anybody can do it. Now, folks, I'll be cooking here in about a month with a professional baker. I bet I get some pointers on what I did wrong on this one. Enjoy your food, folks.